note, let's talk about Frosk and Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
So it says, former G4TV host Frosk disingenuously attempts to frame actor Henry Cavill as problematic. Mainly because she needs something to talk about now because nobody's talking about her because nobody cares about G4TV anymore because G4TV is gone.
She got freaking sacked after trying to own her own former coworkers for getting fired.
Yep.
So that's your comeuppance. Karma is a bitch, Frosk. Now you're unemployed, jobless, and posting on Twitter all day, trying to get some clout.
So the first thing she says is Henry Cavill said some very questionable things around Me Too. She means like hashtag Me Too.
Yeah.
And dated a 19-year-old as 30 plus. Seeing people throw themselves at his feet for The Witcher is weird. The show is whatever at best.
So that relationship he had with a 19-year-old, I believe he was 33.
31.
According to
I thought he was 31.
Either 31 or 33.
Tara King.
Yeah, the girl saying, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
The girl was Tara King. I guess she was just some art student in the UK at the time, and the relationship didn't last very long. But she has never come out and said anything bad about Henry Cavill or the relationship or her experience with him.
And you know what?
There's no evidence that anything bad happened between them.
And before we even go on, let's talk about a little bit. I want you to mention what Millie Bobby Brown said about their relationship.
Well, I also want to quote the exact things that Henry Cavill said about Me Too that Frosk thought was so questionable. He said, addressing men's behavior when asked in a GQ interview about Me Too, he said, stuff has to change. Absolutely. It's important to also retain the good things, which were a quality of the past, and get rid of the bad things. There's something wonderful about a man chasing a woman. There's a traditional approach to that, which is nice. I think a woman should be wooed and chased, but maybe I'm old-fashioned for thinking that. It's very difficult to do that if there are certain rules in place, because it's like, I don't want to go up and talk to her because I'm going to be called a R-wordist or something. Yep. So you're like, forget it. I'm going to call an ex-girlfriend instead and then just go back to a relationship which never really worked.
Jeez.
But it's safer than casting myself into the fires of hell because I'm someone in the public eye. And if I go and flirt with someone, then who knows what's going to happen? Now, you really can't pursue someone further than no. It's like, okay, cool. But then there's why'd you give up? And It's like, because I didn't want to go to jail?
There are a lot of women that will say, like, you gave up to, like, she says no and you're supposed to continue to pursue her.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Like, so it's, what he's saying is not without precedent.
Right.
Yeah, and he also...
Louis C.K. has a joke about that.
What is it?
It's like, on the off chance you thought I was going to just continue. I don't even want to say it on the air because it's really.
I mean, Louis C.K. is known for having like a raunchy sense of humor. And
yeah, but
he's
it's funny
because
his joke is right
too. He's not the first person we
too.
go to for like sexual propriety.
I don't go to him for much advice of anything, but
No.
I go to laugh, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Something else that Henry Cavill said in that interview was that he never personally experienced in any of his work environments someone being like legitimately creepy. He said that he saw producers getting overly familiar with actresses, and he would always go to them and ask them if that was okay, or pointing out that that person was being creepy. So he's the good guy.
He's the white
knight. If anything, I don't think anything that he said in this quote is objectionable. He's just voicing a very valid concern that you don't know the ulterior motives that people have when you come up to a stranger. And these days, the climate, especially when Me Too is at its peak.
Which is when this interview was given.
When this interview happened, he was in a climate where he, as a public figure, had to worry about the perception of his pursuit of a woman being predatory. Yeah. And I think it's fair, at least in the context that, men in the entertainment industry in particular are, they're... Like, I think predatory behavior is overrepresented in Hollywood. For sure.
Which is why we get such a skewed view of why the women in Hollywood have such a skewed view of men.
Exactly. And I'm just saying I understand why Henry Cavill would say that he has these concerns because he was in the middle of it all. Yeah. And then I looked at what Millie Bobby Brown said about her experience working with Henry Cavill on Enola Holmes and Enola Holmes 2. She said this earlier this year, that she has a very strict boundary in her relationship, her like working relationship and friendship with Henry Cavill when they're on set. He has a rule that she can't ask him questions about his personal life. So she contrasted that with like her relationship with all of her cast members on Stranger Things who are around her age. She met them when they were all very young, and they're kind of like schoolmates to her, so they can talk about anything.
I need to remember. Who is it that had the relationship with, just like, I text Drake all the time?
Millie Bobby Brown.
Was that Amelia? So Millie Bobby Brown would be like, yeah, me and Drake are friends. We texted when she was like 14.
Yeah, so
she
was openly talking about this when I'm sure Drake did not want her to do. But she was talking about how Drake was like a buddy and gave her like advice on boys when she was 14 years old.
I'm in a place.
Weirdly, we just brushed over, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think men and women can be friends. Like, not like guys can be friends where you can say whatever. And it's like, I think for young people, that's kind of hard to accept sometimes. Because, like, before you become a sexual human being, when you're like 12 and stuff, you don't, you just are friends with whoever.
Right.
But, like, the reality is, you know, there are borders and barriers, and when a guy's married, he shouldn't be hanging out with other women, you know.
Because the attraction's always there, or there's the potential for it to be there is there. So, I mean, I've had a really good girlfriend that I made boundaries with, but I mean, it's not like out of the realm of possibility that, you know, could be more than that. So
yeah, it takes on a different dynamic.
After the initial tweet that Frosk made, a guy named Jake Randall responds, so he was in a consensual adult relationship? Horrifying. What's funny about this is he gets very like snarky with her, but then says that he supported her, like when she did her rant about women in gaming. So she says, weird way to out yourself, LOL. LOL always comes across disingenuous to me. I'm a ha-ha-ha person, not an LOL person. That's just me.
I like it, LMAO.
As someone who is 31, I can't imagine ever dating a teenager. We are in vastly different life stages, so while it may be legal, most of those relationships are pretty icky with the power imbalance. I also want to point out that it is, whether they like it or not, different between men and women, because men tend to date younger women than women tend to date older men. There's something to be said there. 10 years, whatever, not the best thing in the world if she was 19 and Henry Cavill was 31.
I think she's pointing it out for the wrong reasons, though.
And he says, Jake Randall says, just an FYI, I follow you because I support you. I admired your rant, and I think a lot of people totally missed your point. I don't. The same way I support you, I support a man that was in a loving, consensual relationship with another adult. I don't understand your tweet. She says, when a man has a track record of pretty questionable quotes on Me Too and is dating a teenager, that's sus. It doesn't automatically make him a predator or anything, but I find the behavior very questionable. To me, it's all about the timing of this, which is just post after she's looking to become part of the public consciousness again.
She wants to be an activist media personality.
Yeah, and he's in the news.
Right.
So
she's just desperate, like making a desperate bid for any clout or social media attention she can get off of demonizing Henry Cavill unfairly. And I think based on what Millie Bobby Brown said, you know, unwittingly that she was revealing Henry Cavill's character.
Yep.
She said, I'm not allowed to ask about his personal life. It's like, Millie, shut up, no. And I'm like, understood. Whereas with the Stranger Things kids, it's different. There's no boundaries because it's like we're siblings. With Henry, he is very strict with me, which I appreciate.
Oh yeah, he's like I'm not getting in trouble for this. No way.
Right. So it's clear that from his behavior on set, he very well knows the risks involved in having a friendship in your work environment and, you know, interacting with an actress much younger than him. He's 39 and she is 18, I believe. There are just inherently risks involved in that industry. Yep. And
it is one of the only, we've mentioned this a lot of times, Hollywood is unique in it's a place where like minors interact with adults at work, which is not something
that's not something that ordinarily happens. So he has to set those boundaries. Yeah. And that him simply admitting that those risks exist and are there is not an admission of any guilt.
Nope.
In fact, it's more honest than the rest of this industry would be.
So, and then Frosk points out the Demi Lovato song 29, which you can see the amazing Ben Shapiro breakdown of the Demi Lovato album on YouTube. It's fantastic. You should all watch that. It's great.
That song, by the way, was calling out Wilmer Valderrama, who she got with originally, officially when she was 18, but they met when she was 17. And then now that she is 29, same age that he was at the time, she rethought the whole situation and the whole relationship after years of talking about this guy in such a glowing way. Like, she had nothing but good experiences with him and thought nothing bad of him at all. Mm-hmm. She reinterpreted the whole situation and relationship in a negative light, then releases this song about it, demonizing this guy as a predator, when at the time, and for years after the fact, after they split, he was under the impression that it was a healthy, consensual, adult relationship. I don't think that's fair. And then for Frosk to use that song as evidence that relationships with those age gaps can go sour is completely irrelevant, because these celebrities are not representative of the way that people act in real life.
So, yeah, and then Tyler Lazuski says, the age gap thing, yeah, I agree. A little icky, but we're also not talking about a Dane Cook situation. I think this one is a misfire, to be honest, Frosk, but everyone is entitled to their own opinion. You're pretty on point with this stuff normally. And then down here she says, I think he's weird and stuff he said is indicative of how he thinks. This is the other problem with Twitter, is they know you better than you know yourself, meaning that no matter what you say, they then tell you what you meant by that. You're not allowed to actually, you could be like, I do not like the color orange. And they're like, so what you're saying is you hate the color green. Like, they can take anything you say, no matter how nuanced you make your perspective, and make it about something else entirely. She says, and it's weird how much the internet loves him because he likes The Witcher. If I have to read another article praising him for being a true gamer, I'm going to lose it. She's just mad because he can afford to buy games now and she can't.
She has an inferiority complex, clearly. And I just think it's funny how you call out Henry Cavill, who just happens to be in the news lately,
that's the
when the rest of the entertainment industry is permeated with actual confirmed predators who you could easily call out, right? If that's what you're in the business of doing. If you're an activist, looking out for the safety of young women everywhere.
Yeah, at least Alexa Nicholas is calling out actual...
Right. Where's the conversation about Dan Schneider?
Yeah.
Because Jeanette McCurdy's memoir came out, and then that kind of, dropped off the face of the earth.
It's the problem. When you make a career on activism, your activism only lasts as long as the news cycle. So it's like your story might be shocking, but it's still only going to be in the news for a week. 2 weeks at the most. And then down here we have, she's like, who else could I bag on? Yes, she's mad. She's also upset that Henry Cavill dared to date Gina Carano.
I almost had it mixed up where I thought that Gina Carano was the 19-year-old at the time that he dated. But they're closer in age than that.
And taking her Borg-like energy to figure out what the big term is with the kids today, she says big yikes, which no adult should actually ever say.
It looks like Frosk was pretending to not know who Gina Carano was, which is BS, obviously. She was like, dare I Google her name? Like, you know who Gina Carano is.
She says,
stop pretending that you don't.
It is big yikes energy. Oh, God. I just discovered he also dated her, and then just posts a picture of her.
Wow.
Yeah, and just a lot of dudes out here thinking that dating a teenager when you're 33 is totally fine because it's legal. Yeah, it can be fine, but it can also be pretty effed up, pretty effing quick. A lot of self-reports. So what you're saying is yeah, it can be fine, but it's up to me to tell you when that's fine and when it isn't, and that's up to whatever I say is accurate, not you, is what you said.
Why is it up to Frost?
Yes, why are you the arbiter of what is or isn't a healthy relationship?
I just think it's pretty telling that this is the pivot someone makes after... being the pivot to activism after your project of hating your fan base fails, and you blow up the company you were a part of single-handedly.
She's like, now I'm gonna go.
Then you're gonna moralize on Twitter, and tell everyone else what's right from wrong.
It's I would I don't need a celebrity to even necessarily agree with me. I would just love to see more people be like, yeah, whatever, do whatever you want. I don't care. Like, I want more people to not care.
Or just not comment. I think that would be a lot better than either one of those things.
Like, I'm over it. I actually thought, it's like, just given how much we have to read every day, I would love a 1-year ban or moratorium on monetizing your trauma in news interviews and stuff. I'm so sick of reading all these interviews. It's like,
are you mad at Matthew Perry?
Kind of.
You know, people are actually criticizing Matthew Perry right now because
I'm not mad at it.
But
it's annoying. Like, it's annoying.
They're saying that he is predatory because he asked out Jennifer Aniston multiple times and she said no. And then I saw this tweet that was like, but Jennifer Aniston slept with Vince Vaughn. So now we know for sure that it was just Matthew Perry's personality that repulsed her. But they said, like, you shouldn't ask a woman out multiple times after she already said no. And it's, like, exactly what Henry Cavill was talking about.
It's like they've never actually... And remember, advances for men are only creepy when they're ugly. That is a proven fact that women only find you...
Oh, so Henry Cavill would be immune.
Yes, because he's handsome and rich. So it's only creepy when poor guys do it.
Got it.
And ugly guys. But if you're
Noted.
tall, dark, handsome, and rich, it's suddenly very attractive.
You know what I think happened, actually? I think Frosk looked into the Henry Cavill Witcher situation, found out that he is not the type of person who despises his own fan base,
like,
and was like, hey, not on my watch.
Like,
we can't be having any of that.
She's like, it involves games. I'm kind of into games. It involves hatred or lack thereof hatred for fans. I'm into hating fans.
Yeah.
This is like 2 of 3 points of interest. Let's go. Let's hate on Henry Cavill. And let's face it, would she say no to Henry Cavill if he was
Would Frosk say no?
No. She would not.
Okay, firstly, that would never happen in a million years.
I know.
But I thought that she was gay.
Oh. Well, Is she? I didn't know that.
I have no idea, but that's just what I thought. It would earn her more points,
She
right?
still looks like Machine Gun Kelly to me.
Yeah, like Machine Gun Kelly's less successful cousin.
Even wimpier younger brother.
Her real name is Indiana, by the way. Indiana Juniper Black. Her name used to be Devin Ryan Moore, or is it Rianne? Devin. She changed her name.
And I think it really is like she sees how much people like Henry Cavill for liking something and being nice to people, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know how to like things or be nice to people, so I'm gonna throw shade at him
rain on your
for the
parade.
sake of clout of all things." Like, but I want to kind of push back there. I didn't actually mean that when I said that I don't think the Matthew Perry stuff is because he's coming out of like a very serious like lifelong addiction thing. My thing is more just it's the buzzwords. If I have to read one more article that says trauma in it, I'm gonna throw a laptop out
like
the
we
window.
were talking about this in the context of Selena Gomez earlier, how she just put out this movie called My Mind and Me, and it was basically about mental health, and I think she actually had a bipolar diagnosis.
Yes.
So she's been open about, talking about that. And I think that Selena Gomez is notably very unguarded, and she's good at talking. Like, she's articulate, and she hasn't had as many, as a former Disney child star, she is better off in terms of having less public mental breakdowns, like compared to her former co-stars. So people pay more attention to her, and she's seen as like having more credibility. But again, it's like, are you telling the world way too much? Yeah, because I lean toward that thought. Like, maybe you should tell the world less about who you are and more like just offer superficial things.
And there's a middle ground there. Like, I've been very open with my history of addiction and stuff like that, but I'm still very guarded about other aspects of my personality. And it's not like I give every single detail about it. It seems like most of these people are all too happy to spill every detail and anything. But I look at it as a lot of them seem to be looking for sympathy and clout, and I don't like that approach to it.
Well, they don't know anything else.
Yeah.
It's the only strategy they have at this point.
It feels exploitative in a way of your of your own, like it's almost like you don't have enough respect for your own experiences and your own how you handled your own traumatic experiences to understand that there's some things are better kept to yourself. if that makes sense. I'm not saying everything. I'm not saying that you should hide things that have happened to you, but there's something so commercially exploitative about the way they do it.
There's honesty, and obviously you should be honest, but then you got to be discerning. Honesty doesn't mean you got to say everything you're thinking. And a lot of times when people want to apologize to someone, it's actually a selfish move so that they can feel better about themselves. And the person that you apologize to is like, I wasn't even thinking about it now. Why are you stressing me out with this?
Yeah.
Now you feel better keep it to yourself kind of
also,
thing.
if you're like on all the time, I can imagine that would get draining to the point where you just have to be yourself all the time to continue playing the role of you. So when you let things like that out when people ask for it, because you can't just shut off, you'll run out of like autopilot, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that might be a thing too.
Do you think that what's happening in this situation, does that feel like would you ever like turn to Twitter activism as a way to restart something?
No.
I mean, I hate that activism as just a term has been like ruined by so many phony people. Because there are activist movements that deserve attention. Like, I mean, we're going to talk about the troubled teen industry at the end of the show a little bit, but that's one. And I mean, there's also just like, trafficking and like real travesties and injustices and changes that need to be made in the world, and you're not going to solve any of those problems by like race swapping superhero characters and complaining about Henry Cavill on Twitter
or your trauma.
That's just phony.
Or your trauma,
writing a memoir about all of your trauma and selling it.
Actually, I don't even dislike that as much. Like that you took the time to write a book. Writing something can be very therapeutic and help you work through problems. Monetizing is different. Just talking about it in interviews at a surface level doesn't seem the same to me as actually writing it out and kind of making it a process that helps you look deeper at yourself. When you're externalizing this stuff in an interview, you're telling what happened to the world. When you write a book, you're kind of re-examining something you might have gone through as you write it.
I would love to see why, like, Indiana Juniper Black write a book about why she hates herself. If she's got like anger issues, which she strikes me as someone that's very angry, like an angry person. The way she lashed out at her fans and the way she's lashing out at Henry Cavill right now. Like, what's about her going on with her relationships and her parents and her life and her past? I have a lot of respect for her if she was open about that stuff.
I think it's just we read so much about it, about people talking about, like, I went through this and I went through that, and it's like I went through and some producer made me put on an outfit and twirl in a circle, and I'm like, so don't do the job, go home. Like, I get very annoyed at the people who stay in one place, don't make any changes, and then complain about the fact that nothing's different when they don't do anything to change anything.
Mm-hmm. There are tiers of seriousness that these situations deserve, I think, and we're not capable of discerning that on social media.
Social media is the bane of our existence. It's going to be, we were not meant to hear everybody's thoughts all the time, and you don't need to be getting advice from everyone all the time. It was a horrible idea, ladies and gentlemen. Social media is a very, very bad.
I also saw someone reply to her saying Henry Cavill does not exist to be nice on the eyes.
Yes.
For you.
I do think social media is a blessing, but it's a curse. It can be a curse if you use it wrong.
Yeah.
Like if you jump into a fire, it's going to kill you. It'll burn you to death. But if you use the fire intelligently, it can keep you alive.
Well, that takes a level of self-control, I think, that I certainly don't always have. So I started trying to put my phone away earlier, like before bed, like to try and solve my sleeping problems.
Apparently between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., if you're looking at your phone, it causes some sort of
blue light.
Dopamine release. Yeah, you want to get this, not be looking at a screen between 10. This is according to Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist.
Is it the blue light or is it?
I don't know if it's the blue light. I think it might be just the radiation in general.
It's crazy.
Are there even any long-term studies on phones that will tell us that we're not all going to have mega brains in like 10 years and look like the guys from Mars Attacks?
Or maybe like the guys from WALL-E.
Yeah, like who knows? That could probably happen.
You know what's weird? I throw my phone in the corner a lot, and I have a habit of just not checking it because I can't concentrate if I've got the phone thing.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a while, but it's equally as stressful not like thinking that somebody might be trying to get a hold of you and you're just blowing them off.
Yeah.
It's the source of like self-soothing, but also the source of anxiety at the same time.
You're trapped.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'll start to realize that you're good enough without it. That's what happened to me because I went through like what you're talking about where you're like, what if I miss out? FOMO. And then I realized like, dude, I am what this is all about. Everything else is happening around me. I can get to my phone once a day.
Well, I don't know if he's not necessarily talking about fear of missing out. He's talking about fear of being rude by not responding to someone who reached out to him.
Yeah, well, there's the whole fear of missing out thing because it's like I could have posted the Halloween costume that I had the other day. Didn't do that.
Oh, you should.
Haven't posted about the song yet,
good.
and I keep building it up like I'm gonna say something, but the more that I build up these missed opportunities, for one, the harder it is to actually do any of them. But also, yeah, it's like people will text me and I feel bad for not getting back to them in a timely manner.
And then they look at your
it ruins
Instagram and see
relationships.
that you posted on Instagram.
No, but that's another reason why I don't post anything, because it's like I have to get back to several people before I say anything.
Psychological
No,
torture.
it sucks. Yeah.
Well,
You gotta
do the
post the
Zoomer
outfit.
thing. The Zoomer thing is to just post something with the caption like "pic dump," and then just dump all of the pictures recently from your camera roll.
I hired someone to post this. This is not actually me.
Yeah.
Please don't expect me to text you back.
No.
And then like, or even the day they added the feature where somebody could tell if you read a message or not was extremely.
so
I
dumb.
kind
annoying.
of like that though, because then at least they knew that you. Wait.
No, you don't want them to know that
You're
you read it and
rethinking
didn't
it.
respond.
Yeah, that's
Well,
how I feel.
sometimes they might keep sending you stuff though if you don't read it. Some readings don't require a maybe that's the reason I'm in such a predicament.
One of my
Never
favorite
mind.
things that I've seen recently, it says true friendship is still sending your friend tons of memes even after they haven't looked at the first 30.
Yeah.
Like,
So that means that we're true friends.
I haven't sent any in a while. I've not sent any in a while.
I know how it is.
Yes, I felt very shunned. But like I have friends that definitely like we send like large like meme dumps basically where I'll send 10 at one time and then I won't hear back from them for a while and then they'll send 10 or 15 at one time, sometimes not even realizing we both sent a couple of the same ones because we're not actually looking. But sometimes you do look, sometimes you don't. It just depends on how busy you are. Just the having to be accessible all the time is a mental strain that I don't even know how we got on this topic.
Oh my gosh, it's so
just
rewarding to forget, just let everybody else go. Be like, this is my world now, and you guys are here with me. I mean, obviously it's your world too, but to have that mind state of like, I'm good enough, everybody likes me, I'm doing right. I mean, it's not that extreme, but I'm you know, I'm succeeding without the analytics. I don't need to know because they're here to watch me do what I do. I don't need to check the crowd.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.